6:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Is the news edited by Delvin Samarasinghe and read by Rumesh Pires. The headlines. A presidential task force will be established to eliminate the drug menace. A special gazette notification is issued revoking the import restrictions on 10 items. The President's Fund grants scholarships to O-level pass students having financial difficulties. The final tranche of the rice donated by China arrives in Sri Lanka. In news overseas, India scales up troop deployment along a disputed border with China. And in sports, it's football, returning World Cup winners Argentina greeted by jubilant crowds. Now the local news in detail. Minister Bandula Gunawardena says that a presidential task force will be established for elimination of the drug menace. This will be implemented in the next year under the guidance of the President. This was revealed at the media briefing held to inform the cabinet decisions today. Violence and usage of ice drug among the youth has increased. Media play a significant role in making the community aware of this matter. The minister further said that a special program will be implemented to prevent drugs. Meanwhile, the contribution of the Tamil community in the hill country towards the economy of this country is appreciated. This community migrated to the island from India and are settled in the central, Sabaragamuwa and southern provinces. The Tamil community contributes to 1/3 of the total income earned through the estate sector. Next year marks 200 years since the arrival of the first generation of the upcountry Tamil community in the island. Special programs will be implemented to uplift living conditions of the estate people to mark the event. This will be implemented under the patronage of several government organizations, including the Ministry of Plantations. The proposal tabled by the President in this regard was approved by the Cabinet. The closing date of applications for scholarships granted by the President's Fund to the students having financial difficulties who passed the examination in a single sitting at the GCE Ordinary Level 2021 exam will be 23rd of December. The applicants should obtain the application from the principal. The duly filled application should be handed over to the principals before the deadline along with the recommendations of the Grama-Niladhari of the area. The zonal education officers will forward them to the Presidential Secretariat. The final tranche of the rice donation provided to Sri Lanka by China has arrived in Sri Lanka. The Chinese embassy said in a tweet that a consignment of 1,000 metric tons of rice reached the Colombo port yesterday. This brings the total amount of rice donation delivered to Sri Lanka by China to 10,000 metric tons. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news, a discussion on the sustainable management of the white fly pest that damages coconut plantations was held yesterday. The officials pointed out that climate change, the cultivation of coconut trees that are brought illegally to the country, and the reduction of natural parasites have contributed to the spread of the insect. The pest has affected Colombo, Gampaha, Kegol, Kalutara and several other areas. President Secretary Saman Ekanayaka advised to prepare a program to involve everyone from the divisional secretaries to the rural officers to solve the issue. Cabinet spokesman Bandula Gunawardena said Buddhist and Pali University is expected to be reopened subject to several new amendments. Addressing the cabinet briefing today, he assured that the university will be reopened under new amendments and conditions. The minister said revised conditions will be reached with the full participation of all the Mahanaka Theros and other. For the first time in its 168-year history, the University of Melbourne has awarded simultaneous PhDs to identical twins. Nadisha and Tejani Gunaratne commenced PhDs with the university in 2016, following studies in food science and technology at the University of Sri Javadanapura in Sri Lanka. Both received their doctorates on Saturday in Melbourne, one day before International Twins Day. During their PhD, both twins researched new ways to measure and analyze consumers' emotional and sensory responses to chocolate in complementary research, with Tejani focusing on the impact of chocolate flavor and Nadisha on the impact of packaging. And that concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And moving on to the main news story. The Inland Revenue Amendment Bill, which was recently passed in Parliament, will be effective from 1st January 2023. Although it was previously decided that the bill was to come into effect yesterday, the revision was announced by the Communications Department of Parliament announced today. Speaker Mahinda Yabhabewardena endorsed the certificate on the Inland Revenue Amendment Bill yesterday after it was passed in Parliament with a majority of votes. And that came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
Let's celebrate Christmas and New Year with CIB, with special gifts, discounts and easy payment schemes available till 31st of December. Come to CIB today.
In Watchlight this evening, Finance State Minister Ranjit Siambalapitiya says Finance Ministry has published a special gazette notification revoking the import restrictions on 10 items. Accordingly, the communique has rescinded the import restrictions imposed on energy drinks for the tourism sector, MDF boards for furniture, CCTV for security purposes and Sports Ministry approved items. The revocation is effective from today. And that came to you in Watchlight. A bulletin of world news is next.
Let's celebrate Christmas and New Year with CIB, with special gifts, discounts and easy payment schemes available till 31st of December. Come to CIB today.
World News, brought to you by courtesy of
We give you the strength to rise higher and higher.
Never step back, but always march forward.
Empowering you to reach greater heights. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Moving on to the bulletin of world news, first the headlines. India scales up troop deployment along a disputed border with China. Rescuers comb the Gulf of Thailand, searching for missing sailors. Nazi typist found guilty of complicity in 10,500 murders. Now the world news in detail. India's foreign minister has said that the country has scaled up troop deployment along a disputed border with China to an unprecedented level. S. Jaishankar added that India wouldn't let China unilaterally change the status quo at the border. His comments came days after Indian and Chinese forces clashed in a disputed area along the border in Arunachal Pradesh state. India said that the encounter began due to encroachment by Chinese troops. Rescuers are combing the Gulf of Thailand on the second day of a search for 29 sailors still missing after a Thai warship sank. The HTMS Sukhothai, carrying a crew of 105, sank off the southeast coast on Sunday night after losing power in a storm. Search teams have saved 76 people so far, including one man found on Tuesday after 2 nights in rough seas. But close to a third of the crew is still missing. The Navy has not disclosed if there were any fatalities. A former secretary who worked for the commander of a Nazi concentration camp has been convicted of complicity in the murders of more than 10,505 people. Irmgard Faulkner, aged 97, was taken on as a teenage typist at Stutthof and worked there from 1943 to 1945. Faulkner, one of the few women to be tried for Nazi crimes in decades, was given a 2-year suspended jail term. Although she was a civilian worker, the judge agreed she was fully aware of what was going on at the camp. Back to the headlines of the world news. India scales up troop deployment along a disputed border with China. Rescuers comb the Gulf of Thailand, searching for missing sailors. A Nazi typist found guilty of complicity in 10,500 murders. And that concludes World News.
World News, brought to you by courtesy of
Amidst all challenges, we will rally around you and advance.
In the face of hardships, let's stand strong together.
Empowering you to reach greater heights. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Development News.
In development news, the Cabinet has granted approval to establish an office to handle the affairs of the Sri Lankans residing overseas. This is a proposal tabled by the President through the Interim Budget 2022. Accordingly, this office is to be established under the Presidential Secretariat so that the Sri Lankans residing overseas could contribute to the development of the country. And that was development news. Moving on to sports news, first it's football. World Cup winners Argentina was greeted by a jubilant crowd at Buenos Aires airport, and today has been declared a bank holiday in the country. Fans lined the streets as they travelled in on an open-top bus to their Football Association's headquarters. The main celebration will be at the capital city's obelisk monument later today. In cricket news, England completed a historic 3-0 clean sweep over Pakistan inside 40 minutes on the fourth day of the final test in Karachi. Needing 55 more runs, England took only 11.1 overs to reach their target of 167. Ben Duckett ended 82 not out, while Ben Stokes was unbeaten on 35, the two left-handers sharing an unbroken partnership of 73. England, on their first test tour of Pakistan in 17 years, becomes the first visiting team to win 3 matches in a series in Pakistan. It also caps a year in which England has undergone a remarkable transformation under Captain Stokes and coach Brendan McCullum. This is their 9th win in 10 matches since the pair took charge. Attention will now turn to next summer when England will attempt to regain the Ashes from Australia. And that was sports news.
The fastest way to earn the highest interest, an interest rate of 22% in 4 months. NSB, the safest place for your money.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
In business news, renowned for its paradisiac setting and utopian aesthetics, the Eden Beruela, formerly known as the Eden Resort and Spa, is once again poised to welcome global travellers further to extensive renovations. With an investment of 1.5 billion rupees earlier this year by Brown's Hotels and Resorts, the hotel has been artfully refurbished to provide a more enhanced hospitality experience. And that came to you in business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The fastest way to earn the highest interest, an interest rate of 22% in 4 months. NSB, the safest place for your money.
Economic news, courtesy of... For the 5th consecutive awarded People's Financial Services Brand of the Year at the 2022 Slim Kantar People's Awards. As the People's Financial Services Brand of the Year, LOLC continues to place the customer first. And this has won the hearts, minds and trust of Sri Lankans, with yet another prestigious award as proof of this lasting commitment. LOLC, imagine the possibilities.
In economic news, the Cabinet has granted approval for the new Central Bank of Sri Lanka draft bill. Speaking at the Cabinet press briefing this morning, Cabinet spokesman Minister Bandula Gunawardena said it has been published in the Government Gazette on November 1st, 2019. Although it was also tabled in Parliament for approval, it has not been included in the order book. However, he said the draft bill has been developed by incorporating new amendments in order to make it possible to perform the activities of the central bank more efficiently and effectively. And that was economic news. The weather report is next.
LOLC Finance is taking the power of innovation to the next level, winning 5 golds at the Technovation Awards 2022, leading the digital revolution with cutting-edge interbanking digital payments. LOLC Finance claims the overall gold award, whilst also claiming an extraordinary victory in digital banking.
Weather report.
And finally, moving on to the weather report, the Met Department says northeast monsoon condition is gradually establishing over the island. Showers will occur at times in the northern, eastern, over and north-central provinces. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the western, central, Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces and in the Galle and Matara districts during the night. Fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters are likely at some places in the northern, eastern and over provinces and in the Polonnaruwa and Malawi, and in Matale districts. And that was the weather report. And to conclude this news broadcast, a recap of the main news headlines. A presidential task force will be established to eliminate the drug menace. A special gazette notification is issued revoking the import restrictions on 10 items. The President's Fund grants scholarships to ordinary level students having financial difficulties. The final tranche of the rice donated by China arrives in Sri Lanka. And in news overseas, India scales up troop deployment along a disputed border with China. And in sports, it's football, returning World Cup winners Argentina greeted by jubilant crowds. And with that, we conclude this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.